Hello, Patriots. You know, I'll bet you had a better weekend than Letitia James, the porcine Attorney General of the state of New York. Well, she spent most of her campaign pledging to get Donald Trump. And she brought the bogus fraud charges, bank fraud charges, mortgage fraud charges against Trump, resulting in a huge verdict. But now the tables have turned. Although she stood and pounded the table and declared that no one is above the law when it was Trump, it seems now that Ms. James has harvested all kinds of trouble. She is before a grand jury in the state of Virginia for mortgage fraud, where she declared that a house that she owns with her sister is her primary residence to get a better rate and to get lower taxes. She didn't live there, never been there that anybody can recall. She misstated the number of units in an apartment building that she owns in New York to get a better loan. She had 5 units, said she had 4. And she even said on one application that she was married to her father. Well, that's come home to roost with litigious James. You see, she really isn't above the law. But she's also under DOJ investigation, criminal investigation, for the suit that she brought against President Trump and for the civil suit she also brought against the NRA. Wow. And then she also has a New York grand jury looking into her mortgage fraud there. I'm just going to bet you had a better weekend than that. And I don't think that Letitia is going to sleep very well, although she stands up and declares that this is lawfare. And Letitia, what the hell were you doing? Answer us that. I want you to watch this following clip with Judge Andrew Napolitano. He explains it very well. And let us know what you think in the comments.
Judge, welcome and good to see you. I want to first tackle the allegations about the civil fraud case, President Trump, which resulted in a $500 million penalty against him and is currently being appealed. This was Judge Arthur Engoron who got the case when Letitia James brought it. You know, when you talk about the serious nature of going after President Trump, when there is a crime during the case that we covered moment by moment and is, as I said, being appealed, that there were no victims, Judge, a 5-judge appellate court in New York was questioning Deputy New York Solicitor General Judith Vale about the lack of victims and the huge penalty. So it kind of makes sense that now Pam Bondi's going to look into what weaponization was really going on here with Attorney General Letitia James to bring this case.
A lot of us have been very critical, Bianca, against that litigation for the reason that you articulated. A, there was no victim. B, the bank that supposedly was defrauded said they weren't defrauded. They would do business with the Trump organization again. But this effort to investigate the origins of the case, I cannot underscore the seriousness of it. This is a criminal investigation. So the Justice Department is contemplating prosecuting the Attorney General of New York. This would be unprecedented, for engaging in criminal acts by wrongfully charging him or holding back exculpatory evidence and wrongfully bringing the case against him. That's a high bar for the DOJ to meet, but if they can meet it, it'll be absolutely unprecedented.
I know she is calling it weaponization in her spokesperson's statement that just dropped, Judge. But when we say unprecedented, what they were doing when President Trump was running for office was unprecedented as well. So we have seen this action before. But if they do have the goods and she is indicted, as you say, there would be... It's an earthquake, obviously, of what happens next, and it could lead to so many other layers of this. I also want to bring in the NRA angle of it, because the DOJ is saying National Rifle Association unfairly prosecuted. We just heard James Rosen saying they're violating their First and Second Amendment rights. That is something that Letitia James will also have to answer to, and a grand jury is looking at right now.
Well, that was not a prosecution. That was a civil lawsuit, just like the case against the Trump Organization was a civil lawsuit. But again, this is a separate criminal investigation as to whether there was criminal intent in the mind of Letitia James when she went after the NRA. Did she truly go after them because they violated New York state law, or did she go after them because she hates their free speech and she hates their defense of the Second Amendment? This is another case that a lot of us attacked at the time. But I did not think, honestly, that it would morph into a criminal prosecution of the Attorney General. Just like with the other case, it would be unprecedented if this happens.
So let me ask you, we all remember the very famous video clip of Letitia James when she was campaigning. And she goes, I'm going to get Trump. And it was part of her campaign ads. It's everywhere. That lives online forever. Can that be now used as evidence here, saying she campaigned to get Trump? She had an intent. There was a motive here. She was actually actively engaged in trying to take away rights he had, and there was malice here. I mean, I would think that's a pretty damaging clip, and that's going to be resurrected, Judge.
You know, it's a great question, and it's very strange that a person's campaign behavior could be used against them once they're in office. But yes, that would be a valid piece of evidence, and I'm sure it's been played for the grand jury. But remember, the prosecutors have to show that she did something intentionally wrong, and she knew it was wrong at the time. This is why attorneys general and judges are rarely prosecuted, because they're protected by the law. But if they can show that she knew she was going after him just for political reasons, then they have a case against her.
She also has a mortgage issue, too, that she's got to contend with as well. She's got a lot on her plate now, the one with her father, and she said she was married.
The mortgage issue was before a federal grand jury in Virginia. So this lady has 3 investigations against her, one for her personal manner in which she got a mortgage on a house in Virginia, and the 2 that we've just spoken about. Not a good weekend for her coming up.